Hello and welcome. From the politics of hunger to the economics of survival, history continues to point to the consequences of inaction and how the quest for peace is beyond a conference of men in black suits, all speaking into one microphone. In the last 7 days, African leaders have taken turns to share the stage with their global counterparts at the 73rd United Nations General Assembly to address the world and chart a course for the future. This is Africa This Week, and I'm your guide, Fadeshola Shotingwa. We start off the day with earlier in the week. Welcome on board. On Monday, a Kenyan county governor was charged in court with murdering a second-year university student whom he had impregnated. The governor of Migori County in western Kenya, Zachariah Okoth Obado, denied killing Sharon Otieno and her unborn child after the charge was read out. Obado has been remanded in custody by the High Court judge until Tuesday, when his application for bail was billed to be heard. A witness said Sharon was abducted by 4 men in a car on September the 3rd. Her body was found a day later in a thicket. Still on Monday, Ugandan pop star turned opposition legislator Robert Kyagulanyi said the president will not be in power forever and should treat others the way he would expect to be treated. Kyagulanyi, widely known by his stage name as Bobby Wine, was addressing a news conference in Wakiso district. President Yoweri Museveni has been accused of using coercion to contain his opponents while deploying patronage to ensure loyalists are rewarded.
It is disturbing for me to imagine that President Museveni, at my age, with his colleagues, went to the bush to fight against the injustices that were far less than what we are facing today. But he thinks that in 2018, other young people cannot stand up and look him in the eyes and say enough is enough. It is so insulting for him to think that we have to be paid to see what is right. We ask you to be a statesman and not a politician. And I want you to remember that just like us, there was a time when you were not in power. There was a time when the former regimes, the regimes that you discredit every now and then, there's a time those regimes, particularly in the 80s, those regimes called you bandits when you were still fighting for freedom, although you were fighting violently, and we don't believe in violence. That's the only difference. So I want you, Mr. President, to know that just like there was a time when you were not in power, there will be a time when you are not in power. I repeat, just like there was a time when you are not in power, you must remember that there will be a time when you are not in power. So you should treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yet on Monday, angry Liberians took to the streets of the capital, Monrovia, to stage a hashtag Bring Back Our Money protest after $104 million central bank cash went missing. Information Minister Eugene Nagbe said several shipments of freshly printed Liberian dollars ordered from abroad had been unaccounted for since 2017. The money's disappearance sparked outrage in the West African country, with politicians and pressure groups calling for more transparency. 15 Liberians, including the son of former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, were banned from leaving the country while the government investigates the whereabouts of the missing cash. The missing amount is the equivalent of nearly 5% of the West African country's GDP. In the news on Tuesday, during the bilateral meeting in New York, the United States President Donald Trump congratulated Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for an outstanding job in combating terrorism.
Great honor to be with President al-Sisi, a friend, a great friend of Egypt, and we have very special things happening. Our relationship has never been stronger. And we're working with Egypt on many different fronts, including military and trade and whatever else you could work, we're working. And we're getting along great, and it's an honor to be with you again. Well, I want to thank you, and I want to congratulate you on doing an outstanding job with respect to terrorism. You know, you're working very hard on that. It's not easy, and you're at the forefront. But you've done an outstanding job. I just want to congratulate you. Thank you very much. We've done very well. If you look at various parts of the Middle East, you look at Syria, we've wiped out ISIS. We're in the very final throes. But you have really been outstanding, and we will work with you, and we will go all the way. Thank you very much. Great job.
Still on Tuesday, the National Association of Nigerian Traders sought after the intervention of ECOWAS in the alleged xenophobic attacks on Nigerians in Ghana and the disruption of Nigerian businesses there. A protest organized by both the National Association of Nigerian Traders and the Nigerian Union of Traders Association Ghana saw the traders marching from the popular Aya roundabout to the ECOWAS Commission Secretariat, almost causing traffic gridlock.
Reports of inhuman and indiscriminate treatment to Nigerian traders in Ghana and the closure of their shops have followed the July 27th ultimatum given by the Ghanaian authorities to all non-Ghanaians and Nigerians transacting businesses to vacate all markets across the country, despite the contributions of Nigerians to the Ghanaian economy. It is what has brought this group out on the streets in protest. The gate of the ECOWAS Secretariat is their first port of call. The Vice President of the ECOWAS Commission, who receives them, promises to ensure that the delegation at the United Nations General Assembly would meet and come to an agreement on ways to forge ahead and work on better business relations between the two countries.
Since 2007, Nigerians living and doing business in Ghana have been persistently, continuously molested, many of them intimidated, harassed, their businesses liquidated, shops closed down.
One thing ECOWAS believes in is the free movement of people and goods and the protection of the rights of ECOWAS citizens. And Nigerian traders are ECOWAS citizens. So please, my sisters, Adebeguna, myself, Nansalo person, I talk Creole, but let us take ultimatums out.
They take the protest next to the Ghana High Commission and are received by the Deputy High Commissioner, Eric Dudo.
Whatever has been brought to our attention, we will relate it to our government. When the ambassador comes, the petition will be given to him, we'll deliberate on it, and we'll let you have the appropriate response.
Though the Ghanaian government claims Nigerians are not affected by the new trade laws, actions of the authorities says otherwise as shops belonging to Nigerians continues to get locked up.
We have our Ghanaian representatives that are here now. They came from Ghana to come and cry in our country that what they are going through is too much.
It has been a nightmare for more than 3 months now. It has been a situation that I can tell you that I have suffered so many humiliation because all the authorities that we met, we promised us that tomorrow we do something and nothing have been done.
The degeneration of this trade dispute stems from the belief of Ghanaians that Nigerians are stifling their businesses and taking over the market share, an allegation the Nigerian traders rebuffed, calling their Ghanaian counterparts lazy.
On Wednesday, Congolese President Joseph Kabila said the scheduled presidential elections will take place despite violence in his country. Kabila reiterated a call for the United Nations to withdraw peacekeeping troops there. There has been tension in the DRC since he refused to step down when his mandate expired in 2016. Kabila maintains a tight grip on the Democratic Republic of Congo, despite his announcement in August that he will not defy constitutional term limits to seek a third term in elections due in December. But his opponents remain skeptical that the vote will be free and fair. On Thursday, Cape Town's Deputy Mayor Ian Nielsen said the city will relax its restrictions on water use for local residents. The municipal government announced that the water restrictions will loosen a little beginning October the 1st. Residents will be able to use 70 litres instead of 50 litres per day. The restrictions might be further relaxed by the end of October, raising the limited quota to 87 or 100 litres per day. A severe drought began in 2015 in the West Cape province, resulting in water shortages.
Essentially, what has happened over these years, we've first of all, within the water distribution system, done a lot of work and reduced all the leaks and pipe breaks and so on. And on that basis have reduced the amount of water lost quite substantially. We also put pressure reduction and many other things which resulted in a great saving of just wasted water.
On Friday, the UN Refugee Agency urged European governments to review their search and rescue capacities in the Mediterranean after the last charity rescue vessel was prevented from sailing. Earlier in the week, Panama authorities revoked the Aquarius's registration, meaning that once it docks, it will be deflagged and will not have the right to sail unless a new registration is found. Panama's move also means there will be no charity rescue ships operating off the Libyan coast in the near future.
This year, with at least more than 1,700 lives lost in the Mediterranean, the needs have not gone away. So there is, the fear is if there's no search and rescue in the Mediterranean, more lives will be lost. UNHCR is appealing to European governments to urgently review search and rescue capacities on the central Mediterranean, including re-examining current arrangements between the countries. It is quite worrying. It represents a worrying weakening of search and rescue capacities. And our fear is that if there is no search and rescue capacity in the Mediterranean, more lives will be lost. This time last year, 7 NGO boats were conducting search and rescue operations on the central Mediterranean. Following the deflagging process of the Aquarius, there are none, which means no boats.
And with that, we have come to the end of Earlier in the Week. Up next is Digging Deep, and that will be after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Africa This Week. If you have been following political developments in Nigeria and wondering what Ondo, Anambra, Ekiti, Edo and Osun have in common, well, since 2015, eligible voters in those states have all tried their hands at the ballot, and it's not even 2019 yet. Osun State stands unique above all of them, where the recent governorship poll went from being inconclusive to conclusive, leaving both the interested and affected with talking points, take-home lessons, and a twist to the narrative that winning an election is no longer as easy as ABC. Joining me to dig deep on Africa This Week is Habib White, a lawyer and political analyst. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Let's get right into it now. What are your thoughts on political developments in Nigeria ahead of next year's election, 2019, and INEC's preparedness?
Now, very well. I know INEC is already prepared for the elections coming ahead. With what happened in Ekiti State and Osun State, INEC is very, very ready.
Indeed.
But now, to our political parties, how ready are they? It is no more a battle of one man now. It's a battle of many people. Now, there's nothing like one-man show now. We have a lot of persons that will fight. They will fight doggedly. They will fight doggedly for whatever they want to come out of the polls. Now, in the parties now, we have the opposition parties and the main party. the opposition parties right now, they should have learned their lessons in the past 2 elections. They should come together as one. That's the only way they can defeat the incumbent party. And the incumbent party now knows that they have a lot to do. That is no more like the normal game show. You have a lot of things to do before you can win election in Nigeria. We now have close margins now.
Indeed.
Unlike before. Before it used to be thousands of votes, over 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. But right now we have just hundreds of votes, 900. It's not even up to 8,000. And INEC declaring election to be inclusive, that's it, following their laws. It's very simple. If we have total number of accredited voters, if they are like 100, and you are having voting voters or those that have voted to be like 300, that is overvoting.
Indeed.
So they could have followed their route to declare the election as inconclusive. So some persons have said they don't have that power. No, they have the power. Section 3 of the Electoral Act is very, very clear. It has given INEC the power to declare election, to cancel it, to make it inconclusive. They can have the power to draw another election. So it is their power, and Section 153 of the, and 160 of the Constitution is very, very clear on that.
You're referring to the Osun State rerun election there.
Very well.
But, you know, talking about political parties, what do you think of the direct primaries being widely adopted by the APC party?
That is the best thing. That is the best thing. You know, all these our parties need to give room for.
Especially looking at yesterday's presidential primaries.
Very well. All these parties need to give room for internal democracy. It is only when you have your internal democracy, when it is right, that is when you can come outside and fight boldly. But if you have rancors in your own party, how do you expect to win the general election? You cannot win it. So that system is very, very good. No more adoption of an individual when you have persons that are willing to be on that same particular post. So let them select that within the party system, use their delegates and their primaries, and give us a better candidate.
How would you describe our electioneering process and how it has evolved in the past 19 years?
Yeah, very well. Things have turned around. We have a new electoral act, as we used to have before. Now, I know we have the system of the voting system has changed now. Now it's mostly like the e-system now, which is very, very good for us. But there's one thing that I need that should be gotten right. That's the security system. Because a lot of voters have said their lives was at stake during the voting, they were rigging here, they were ballot boxes, everything was a mix-up. But I think our security system needs to work.
Those seem to have been information being spread on social media.
Very well.
Nothing tangible was actually, recorded.
But there are reports to the fact
no
that...
evidence.
There are reports to the fact that there were some members of a particular party, which I will not mention them, they have been masquerading themselves as INEC officials. They were caught, they were arrested.
Yeah.
So things like that needs to be avoided for future sake. It has to be avoided. But as of now, as INEC, I'll give it to INEC. They're doing very fantastically well. So we really urge them to keep doing better.
What will be your assessment of the governorship elections in recent times from Anambra, Ondo, and then the Osun one?
Very well. In Ondo State, it was a good one. Osun State seems to be the shocker to everyone, because I would not have imagined the turnout.
Yeah.
Because it shows that the issue of this voters registration thing was equally embraced by all Nigerians.
Yeah.
It shows a lot of people now have more voters.
Yeah.
And everybody came out to vote en masse. Because if it had not happened like that.
Some say, though, that some people didn't come out to vote, and that's why the difference wasn't that much.
People came out to vote.
People are saying that
came out to
vote because
party unlike before, the margin will have been very, very wide. We all know, unlike before. But then we're having close gaps. So it's even a kind of hint for political parties to form more alliance than the usual thing that we used to have before. Right now, APC as a party now knows that it is not going to be easy for them in 2019 elections. Other parties now know that they need to form alliance with other parties to be able to beat the ruling party.
Yeah.
So that's the way it is. So things are changing. It means Nigerians are ready. We're now using the ballot paper to get the mandate right now.
Talking about political parties, what are your thoughts on them with the outburst of more political parties and realignments ahead of next year's election?
That's probably, to me, it's a craziness. Why are we having more parties when we can streamline our parties just 3-party system or just 2-party system? Imagine if you had like a 2-party system. APC would have won that election in Osun State. Whether it was conclusive or not conclusive, it would have won that election. Imagine for us to add the vote of PDP, ADP, APP, let's say SDP out now. People have won that election, and most of all these parties, I don't know why there are differences in interest. I don't know why. People that are in PDP and want for
self-interest or ideology?
It's self-interest. It's self-interest. All our parties have the same ideology on paper, but the individual interest is what's giving birth to all the problems that we're having. That's why our personal interest must not override the national interest. I keep saying it. National interest, when it comes to Nigeria, is the paramount thing for all of us. If you think because you want to gain particular thing, at the end of the day, you will not gain it. That's what happened in the Osun State. If SDP, ADP has joined force with PDP, I know APC right now, it will not be a smooth ground for them. It will not be a smooth ground for them. Even though it was not even smooth for the won the election.
Indeed, it didn't. It was a really, really tight fought.
Tough battle.
Yeah.
They fought the last.
How do you think we can curb this menace of vote buying? It seems to be the new form of electoral irregularity in the country.
Very well. Even our laws have catered for that position. The law is very, very clear. When there are reports of such cases, there must be evidence that such things have
actually happened
before you can even prosecute persons that are doing that thing. But right now, I think in Osun State, it was not pronounced the way we had it in Ekiti State. Because I know at the end of the Ekiti State election, both parties were coming out to say, you gave it 10,000, you gave 5,000. But in Osun, it was not pronounced.
Okay, let's look at why it wasn't pronounced. INEC asked that smartphones not be used during the Osun. Do you think that played any part in it?
To an extent, it did not help things. It did not help because there were no more recordings that we used to have. You know, before now, if anything is going on at polling booths, you have seen it everywhere. But now, I think INEC has just used that to curb some excesses because of the international outrage of the Nigerian system itself. You know, the observers told us the election was rigged in a way, but they never told us how it was rigged.
No evidence.
Anybody could say an election was rigged, but show me or tell me how it was rigged, then I will believe you the more. But if the system of using our smartphone was allowed, we will have seen evidence or things that are shown to us that truly it was rigged. But for now, it's a good election.
Yesterday, APC held its presidential primaries. Tomorrow, APC will hold its governorship primaries in Lagos State. What do you think?
The Lagos State issue is nothing entirely.
Dicey?
It's very, very dicey.
Not to be
very, very dicey. Because for the first time in Lagos State, we're most likely to have a governor that might not return back if he is not voted tomorrow. In his primary, as I said, it is good when we allow our aspirants to taste the water itself from the beginning through delegates.
Right.
When we have persons that are capable, we have like 4 or 5 persons that are capable, don't unpick anybody. Let them talk about the party system themselves so that we can present a better candidate
and show
for general election.
Popularity.
And show popularity.
Habib White, lawyer and political analyst, I'd like to thank you for joining me on Africa This Week. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Well, the Osun State election comes as the final major electoral test before Nigerians vote for a new president, National Assembly, governors and state legislators in February and March next year. The countdown is on, the stakes are even higher, and voting is no longer queue, thumbprint and leave, but an avenue for the people to inspire the much-needed change. That's our program for today, and I have been your guide, Fadeshola Shutingwa. Many thanks for watching, and bye for now.